Hey guys, welcome to Built by Sam. I'm excited to get this very first YouTube video out to you guys. What we're going to do today is give you a quick tour of my barn workshop I've been working on for the last couple of years. It's basically a 30 by 48 building with a 16 by 30 bonus studio upstairs. So I got a lot done so far. There's still a lot to do, but let's get started with the tour. This is what my final project came out like. So the outside, I'd say, is basically 99% done. Everything out here that needs to be done for the most part is done. Still a little bit to do on the back side here. I'll show you in a minute. But this is what I came up with. So basically the building, like I said earlier, is 48 long, 30 wide. It's got a 10-foot porch on the front. And the bonus room area is actually in just this section here, and it's partially into the roof structure as well. So there is two dormers on this side. This dormer just overlooks the shop, and you'll be able to see a better view of that once you get inside. But the other dormer up there is for the bonus room, and there's one on the back as well for that room. So on this end is my main overhead door. It's a 16 wide and 11'6" tall. The wall height is 13 feet. I did dark charcoal gray for the upper half of the steel and midnight black for the roof trim and the wainscot. So under the porch here, did the same steel on the underside there. The pad comes out 11 feet, so it comes out a little bit past the posts. These posts, I believe, are about 16 feet apart, so there's only four posts for the whole front here. And these are pretty interesting. Actually, these are LP Smart Side that I painted to look like a cedar wood. Matches the garage door really well. But basically, it's a 66 by 6 underneath there, structural, and I wrapped them in a 1x8 LP Smart Siding, painted to look like the natural wood. So I think they came out really nice. There's not much maintenance on them, being that they're painted with a good paint. It's not like I got to keep staining them or something like that. But for the most part, I'm real happy with how those turned out. So all the trims on this building, other than like the Z trim for the wainscot there and maybe the drip edge, I made all myself. So I bought the stock coil and I broke all my pieces up. So all my windows and doors, I made it almost like I trimmed them out of frame instead of just having a J channel up against it. You know, I made this 3-inch wide or so piece that actually tucks in behind the window, and then has another J built into it to accept the steel, and then it wraps back behind the steel, you know, to create your weather barrier there. So I feel like those came out really nice, and it just looks a little cleaner than just having a J channel around there. So same scenario here. It's all one piece for the door. Jamb comes out, has the built-in J all the way around, and it's just less pieces of metal stacked on top of each other. It just gives it a nice clean look there. So that's how I did that area. This is some concrete here. We'll be using that in a few weeks when I start the bathroom project. On the back side here, this is where it gets a little interesting. So basically that's a 9 wide, 8-foot tall roll-up door there. That allows me, that's usually where I park my tractor. Allows me to get in and out of the building without having to open up the big overhead door, and also allows me to drive straight through if I need to, or if something else is blocking the door, I'm able to come out this end. This little area here, so this actually bumps into the shop 6 feet. It's about 20 feet wide. And what this is for is my implements for my tractor. So what I'm going to have here, it's not done yet, but I'm going to have some racking, and on either side I'll be able to put, you know, my rototiller, my York rake, my mower deck, snowplow, forks, bucket, grapple, whatever it's going to be. I can store all that stuff out here, it stays out of the weather for the most part, and gives me easy access to it, so I don't have to go in the shop, try to dig something out if something's in the way. I don't have to drag mud in and out of the barn. Everything will be right here in the back of the barn, and easy to get to. So still to do under here is I gotta tin out this ceiling. It is spray foamed because above this is the bonus room upstairs. But this needs to get some lighting put in and get the metal up under here to seal that up. So again, with the trims, so even like the garage door trim, I broke those up. That's all one piece from the inside all the way out, wraps with the built-in J in it, and just gives it a nice clean look. So you can see another window up there. That's part of the bonus room up there. So there's a window on the front, the side here, and there's one on the back dormer. You'll see the condenser unit there for the mini split. I believe that's a 18K BTU for up there. I also have one for the shop space, but that one handles the upstairs. Does a really good job. In the back here, there's nothing fancy going on. It's very simple. Just the dormer up top. You can see the air conditioner unit there for the mini split that's in the shop area. But yeah, no windows, no nothing on the back, because basically I'm just looking into trees and junk back here, so there wasn't a big point for that. That's basically it there. Even the roof trims for the rake ends, it's probably gonna be hard to see on here, but I even made those up. Instead of just using your standard like exterior corner piece and capping the rakes down the roof, I ended up making a piece that was had a little bit more detail to it. I don't know if you guys can see very well, but it is sunny. But it's just a little bit cleaner look than the standard outside corner going up the end of the roof. Take you over this way. So it's a nice spot when it's raining out or just a nice evening. You sit out here, the fan's on, keeps the bugs away, keeps you cool. Looks nice. Like I was saying earlier, this is a 16 by 11.6 store. I believe the color is light cedar. It is an insulated door. I believe it's like the R13 insulation one. Got two windows here. That's basically it. We're back to the back side. Got a nice pad in front of it. That's about it. So let's take a walk over and we'll check out the inside. Feels much better in here. It's about 90 degrees out right now. The humidity is pretty high, but it's beautiful in here. That's one thing I got to start off with is, if you guys doubt a mini split or thinking of a mini split, they are the way to go. I live here in Michigan, southern Michigan. Summers get hot, winters get cold, and this thing has no issue not only keeping it perfectly cool, humidity down, but also in the wintertime it provides plenty of heat to heat this whole shop comfortably, and is pretty darn efficient too on top of that. So we can go in more detail in that later day, but basically that's a 24,000 BTU unit. I believe it's a Cooper Hunter brand. Had zero issues with it. It's been going for about a year and a half now. I keep it in the summertime set at 75, and right now it's 72 in here, and the thing's barely even running. Like I said, it's hot outside. As far as insulation goes, I only have 2-inch spray foam on the ceiling here, which seems to be plenty for what's going on. Haven't had no issues. Before I had that, you couldn't even come in here on a sunny day. With that black roof, it felt like you had a radiant heat overhead. It was pretty intense, so that made a huge difference. And behind the walls is just 2 layers of the cheaper 1.5-inch foam board insulation. So like the white styrofoam one with the It had like the radiant silver barrier on one side. I did a layer of it between all the wall girts and went behind the posts with it. And then I did another layer the opposite direction on top of it. So it's basically 3 inches thick on the walls, which gives you like an R12, I think it equates to. But I did seal it all up really nice. The whole exterior has the Block-It brand house wrap on it. So it is pretty darn airtight for a barn, that's for sure. But with that little bit of insulation on the walls and ceiling, stays more than comfortable and cool in here. Even in the winter. This past winter, we had days where it was -7 for a couple of days in a row. And I had the heater set at 65 degrees, and it was 65 degrees in here all day and night, no problem. So real quick, so this here is the workshop area, workbench area, I guess you would call it. And what I did here was, these were like the RTA cabinets from Lowe's. They were all clearanced out, like 75% off. They were not painted. I painted them black. But for what I needed, I couldn't even buy the wood to build them for that. So they were cheap, they worked well, and they seem to be holding up all right. One of these days I might change out the drawer glides in them, but for the most part, no problems. I did incorporate 2 Husky, I believe they're 52-inch toolboxes. I took the wheels off of them. I built a toe kick base basically for them, set them on there. They came with some wood tops on them. I took those off and connected all the cabinetry to them, and then built these tops over top of them. So the back side of the cabinets here is made like a false panel. And there is actually one cabinet facing this direction because it's a blind corner from the side of the boxes there, and allows you to access it from this side. So these tops, basically 3 layers. So the first layer is, I have like 2x12s going across that are all screwed together, glued together, and screwed down to the cabinets. And then on top of that is a sheet of 3/4 plywood, or it's actually like subflooring, OSB. I don't know if you can see really well here. So here's the cabinet. Here's the 2x12, the end grain of it here. Here is the 3/4 plywood. And then on the top is the 1/4 inch masonite or hardboard. So this top is kind of a sacrificial top. It does hold up pretty well, but if I was to, drill into it or make it a mess, I can easily unscrew it, trace it onto a new piece, and put a new piece back down. But the main structure of this is the layered up 3/4 and 2x12s underneath it. That does make it nice and solid. So, and the edge, I just put a piece of 1x oak on it, screwed it in real nice with like those GRK screws into the sides of the 2x12s, and just gives it a nice firm edge to protect all that layered up materials there. Got the vise mounted here. So behind the cabinets we got some just slab board. I don't really have much on it right now. I just put it up the other day, and I put up these power strips. So these are all going to be wired in here shortly. They're the power cords go up. They're going to be above the cabinets and plugged into outlets up there. So I was going to hardwire them in, but I figured for the most part they should just be plugged in. So just gives me lots of plugs, lots of options to charge things, plugs things in, whatever it's going to be. I don't have to get cords or extension cords out or nothing like that. So that's that. And then there also is some like under cabinet LEDs under here. So those can come on, so it gives you a nice bright surface to work on. So if you're working on something, you have great light coming down from them. So they're not on right now, but they will be. Above this you can see, so the ceiling height in this area is 8'6". Okay, so above that is where that bonus room is. And the rest of the shop has a 13-foot tall ceiling. So it's 13 feet to the bottom of the truss to the top of the Typically, when someone does a bonus room in a building, either they have a very tall 16-foot plus wall height, so that when they do put a loft in, there's still at least a 7-foot ceiling or so up above the trusses. Or they end up putting in a bonus room truss, and then your center section, your attic space, basically becomes your bonus room, and you can always add dormers to that. So my thought was, I didn't want that. I didn't want this super tall building in my backyard that towered over my house. So my goal was to keep it minimal outside, but still maximize the space, both inside the shop and the upstairs portion. So the best combination I came up with was a 13-foot wall height, 8'6" under the floor here. The roof is a 512. And what I did was, all the roofing over the bonus room area upstairs is conventional frames. So there's a supported LVL ridge, there's 2x12s running up for rafters, the dormers come into it, it all ties together, there's no trusses, so the bottom of the roof rafters is the ceiling in there. So it's got some cool angles to it, we'll go up there and look at it in a second, but it definitely gives plenty of headroom. I believe it's a little over 10 feet to the peak up there, and the shortest point at the knee walls is I think a little over 4 feet, but there's plenty of space with the two dormers coming off of it, 10-foot wide dormers. And if you also notice the little set of stairs there, so there is a hidden door upstairs in the one wall, and you can open that up. You can go up about 6 steps and you end up in the attic space of the shop here. So these aren't storage trusses, they're not designed to be carrying a ton of weight or anything like that, but I did just put some plywood down up there, some thin 1/2-inch OSB, laying on some 2x4 sleepers basically. But it allows me to get up there, I have access to, if I got to do anything up there, run any wiring, and if I want to put anything storage wise that's lightweight up there, I definitely can. It just gives me an easy place to put something like Christmas decorations, or if I got extra insulation or whatever it may be, that stuff can go up there and not be a problem. So I did run a 100 amp service out here. That should be enough for me. I mean, I do have a welder and whatnot, but even that maxed out doesn't draw that much. So 100 amps coming out here is plenty. I do have water coming out here. This is just kind of temporary, this hose bib I put on. I got a hose reel sitting there, but shortly we're gonna have the water plumbed in, because there is a sink upstairs in the countertop, and then we're gonna be adding a bathroom onto this as well. This little area is gonna be, it's definitely not done. It's just some cabinets I had left over from a job. They're just sitting here. I gotta build some toe kicks for them. This is gonna be just like a little desk area. I have my 3D printer out here, my laptop, whatever it may be. Got the TV up there. And this space under the stairs, originally I was gonna make this a little bathroom, just a sink and a toilet, but it's pretty small under here and not a ton of headroom. So this is gonna become more of a storage room, maybe a little compressor room, but no longer gonna put the bathroom there. What's gonna happen is, on this back wall here, from that post to that post, I'm gonna cut a door in the center, and we're gonna build a 8-foot by 8-foot, basically, a little addition off the back here. And instead of doing a concrete floor, we're still gonna do 2 posts out there. We're gonna basically post frame it in line with the posts inside here. But I'm gonna do almost like a crawl space under it. I'm gonna do floor joists and have maybe a 2 or 3 foot crawl under it. Because what needs to happen is I gotta put a pump there to pump the sewage all the way back to my house, which is about 275 feet away from where this is gonna be. So I already have the pump, and I'm prepared to do that soon, so that'll be a future video coming up here soon. But basically, I'll have a nice 8x8 bathroom. We're gonna do a full shower, toilet, like a linen closet. Underneath the linen closet, we'll have a floor access to get into the crawl area. But yeah, that's where that's gonna go. If you look, I framed my walls out probably a whole lot different than most people do in their shops. The thing I learned about post frame construction is it's kind of redundant when you want to finish off the interior. So you built this structure with posts and frame and wall girts, 2x4s, to be a quick and efficient build, but then you basically go and build a whole nother structure inside of it so you can finish the interior walls or insulate the walls. So you end up framing 2x4s every 16 inches or whatever it may be in between the posts, and now at that point you should have just built the shop without the posts. You could have just framed it with the 2x4 or 2x6 walls. So what I did was, like I said earlier, behind these walls is 2 layers of 1.5" foam. So 1 layer of 1.5" is between the girts and 1 layer is on top of the girts. And then what I did was just sandwich the 7/16 OSB with some long screws screwed through the foam into the wall girts and kind of smushed it all together. And it just creates a nice solid wall that you can screw things into, hang things off of, but it's holding 3 inches of foam insulation behind that. And yes, the posts are exposed, but you do lose a little bit less space. So it did allow me to, you know, keep an extra 3 inches on either side of the build, or on either side of the wall. And I think it just looks like a nice clean way to finish them off without buying a whole bunch of extra material and lumber. And it's plenty sturdy. What I did was use some 5/4 decking as like a baseboard that I put on first, and then the sheets sit on top of that. So the OSB is up off the concrete. And at the base there, this is sealed, the foam was sealed to the concrete, then this is sealed to the concrete, and it's sealed here. So even if I hose this down, this is all, you can't see it, but it's clear, big stretch caulk sealing everything up. So I thought it was a nice clean look. It's simple. If I want to paint it one day I can, but right now it's just raw lumber. But I think it looks pretty good the way it is. And if you notice, all my interior beams are all notched into the posts. So the post itself is the furthest thing into the room, but those are notched in and sitting on top of the post instead of just bolted or nailed to the face of the post. On the outside, everything is nailed and bolted to the face, but on the inside, everything was flushed out and notched in. So like I said, again, it gives it a nice clean look, and just makes it a little easier and cleaner for finishing things off. Plus it's a little stronger having the beam sitting on the posts. So I do have the side mount door opener that works really well. No issues at all with that. I still need to finish the rest of the window trim, but this is basically, I just used some more of the LP Smart Side material, made a little jam extension, and 1x4 for the trim. So I got to do that to the rest of the windows in here. But we're going to wait till this section's done. I'm going to be building a little miter station. Well, not little, it's going to be 16 foot long. Going to have my saw there. We're going to use the Kreg precision track and stop system. So it has like 8 feet of track on either side of the saw with little stops you can flip down, built-in measuring, and do it. And underneath that we'll have storage for the joiner, storage for the Foreman Kreg pocket hole machine, pocket screw machine, which does work really well. If you guys haven't used one, it's so much quicker than doing them by hand. Kind of preview of what a finished box looks like here for the cabinets, but we'll be making some cabinets for this, some rollouts for the 2 pieces of equipment, and mounting up the Makita 12-inch miter box and using the stop system. So that's basically it down here. There's still plenty to do. Still got to finish up a little bit more of the wall material on the end here. I was just a little short on the OSB, so I got to still cover that up. That gives you a good idea of the foam board that's behind there. I did one layer with the foil facing out and one layer with the foil facing in. So what we can do next is we can go upstairs and I'll show you my wife's studio up there and how that turned out, and we'll go from there. So like I said before, I didn't want it to look like you were still in a barn or this was just an add-on to the barn when she was out here. I wanted her to have her own space and to feel completely separate from the rest of the shop. So once you're up here, you completely forget that you are in a barn. It's resembles nothing of the space below, and it is truly a beautiful studio for her. So nice tall ceilings. I think it's a little over 10 feet or 11 feet to the peak. A lot of natural light. There's 3 large windows up here. The one there on the right and in front of me faces kind of south, so get plenty of light all day through there. We went with the monochromatic paint scheme where all the trim and walls are the same color and finish, and it kind of gives it that rich look. Came out really nice. A little coffee bar area. She's got a sink there, a little bar sink. Still got to do some backsplash tile around that eventually. Up here is a mini split as well. This one's completely separate from the one down below. It's an 18,000 BTU. Has no issues heating and cooling this area. Look at the structural beams up there. They are wrapped in a 1x material, but behind those is structural LVLs that are holding all this roof up. Give you a look at the accent wall. Just did like a 1x2 vertical stripes on it. Like I said, I'm going to finish up this area here with some backsplash. There's a view of the temperature up here. Like I said, it's 90 degrees outside right now, and it's cool and comfortable up here. The hidden door I was telling you about earlier is on this wall, and unless you know where it's at, you really can't tell. But it is behind one of these slats here. It's not the easiest thing to open just because you got to grab the slat with kind of 2 hands and give it a tug, and then the door pops open. That way there's no handles or anything on it. It's on like a set of pivot hinges, and that gives you access to the attic space up above the shop. It's kind of a bit of a mess. There's still some stuff left up here from when I was building everything, but just give you a look up here of what's going on. You can see the spray foam that's on the bottom of the roof deck. You can see the plywood I put down, so at least when you're up here you can walk around. If I gotta run any kind of wiring, or if I want to store some light things up here, I can. To look at the dormer, the matching dormer over the shop that matches the dormer over the bonus room. Kind of see how I framed it there. The posts for all these dormers do go all the way from the bottom through the beam to the top of the walls on the dormer, so those posts are continuous all the way up to the corners there. This area is kind of conventional framed here between these 2 double trusses. So on either side of this there's 2 trusses sandwiched together, and then you got a couple 2x10 roof rafters there. There's an LVL that goes between the trusses and ties everything together. And there's also an LVL for the ridge going out towards that window, and 2x8 rafters for the dormer. So this is a very similar construction to what's over the bonus area or the studio area, except there's no trusses past basically that one right there. The rest of them from here over is all conventional framed. There is an end wall truss on that outside gable wall, but the rest of it is all 2x8s, 2x10s, and LVLs. So the door just pushes shut. There's a latch built into it. It kind of clicks there, and once you close it, you have a hard time seeing where it's at. So she keeps her little clothes racking right there in front of it, and that's where she does most of her filming and try-on hauls and whatnot. So it's mostly 6-inch LED can lighting up here. It's a nice decorative chandelier. She's got a nice view into the woods from up here. We are pretty secluded from our neighbors, so we don't really have a ton of people that can see in or anything of our windows, so it makes that kind of nice. Just a view of the quartz countertops up here. Those are really nice. Just a little bar sink and beverage cooler for any drinks or anything she wants. The flooring is it's a Mohawk product, a 5/8 pre-finished white oak. I believe it's 5 inches wide. It's their wheat color, I believe they call it. Real nice product, went down really good. Little closet up here. I still gotta put some shelves in here for her, but just a closet underneath the knee wall area. A little difficult to do doors on a slant like that. You can't use a top track, so they just have to swing out. And that's basically it. The wood carries down the steps all the way to the door down below, and it is a exterior door at the bottom of the stairs, a steel exterior fire rated door that separates the shop from the space above. Here's just one quick look at the beams up close and how it all went together. That's basically it. So thanks for watching Built by Sam. Like I said, this is the first video. Hopefully we can do plenty more, and hopefully I can entertain you guys with a bunch of cool projects coming up. So stay tuned, subscribe if you can, and I'll see you on the next one.